Jeremy Ruckert at tight end to a really good offensive line with 5 dudes that will probably all be on NFL rosters at minimum. Several of them could be high draft picks, to a vastly improved defense. Last year the question everybody was asking that was an Ohio State fan was the problem the talent or was the problem the scheme and Greg Schiano? And I think the question was answered really quickly. The problem was Greg Schiano and scheme. The same dudes are out there and they're flying around. They're making plays. They're getting turnovers that we didn't get last year, and they're anchored by arguably the best defensive end and the best corner in the country in Chase Young and Jeffrey Okudah. You couple that with Ryan Day's new offensive scheme. We saw glimpses of it last year. Nothing was wrong with what Urban Meyer ran. I just think college football caught up to it, and he didn't really adjust. Day has them attacking north-south rapidly, and this is what's scary. As good as Dwayne Haskins was, and the dude set every single season Big Ten record that exists, Justin Fields might be a better fit. So, I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I don't see any way that Ohio State doesn't win by 21 plus if they just show up and do, again, just like Notre Dame, do what you came to do. Now, obviously, it's the first road game, which can always have some issues, but Bloomington, we call Bloomington Columbus West because it's so close. And Ohio State fans will show up in droves. But, I really think this is one of those games where Ohio State just lays the hammer down. But for IU fans, they can also not be they'll be able to look back and go, you know what? It could have been a lot worse, especially by the end of the season when most likely Ohio State's sitting, again, king of the conference, one loss maybe to an undefeated record, and IU is probably going to score 17 or so points, which is a lot more than Cincinnati last week, who got shut out, and they won 11 games last year. This Ohio State team is just – it's already firing rapidly ahead of schedule. But I think IU is going to put up a heck of a fight. If there's one thing that Tom Allen and his squads never do is they never give up. And that's one of the, I think, the most admirable things. One of the things I like most about their coaching staff is that their kids, they play hard. And you can't say that about every coach when they're not at elite level programs. A lot of programs, when they know that they're going to get outclassed, they don't show the same amount of fight as for a game that they feel like they have a shot at winning.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and we're going to go here to Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor today. 12 o'clock, IU opens up their Big Ten season with Ohio State. As Adam mentioned, it's going to be a packed house. Unfortunately, it's going to be a good mixture between IU and Ohio State. It's like a home game for Ohio State, if you will, but it's also there's so much red out there. We could convince ourselves that they're all IU fans. Ryan Day, obviously new to the coaching arena. Obviously, he filled in for Urban Meyer, did a good job for Urban Meyer during his suspension, and now he's the full-time coach. Tom Allen is there. So let's break down this game by the X's and O's. That's your job, Rick Riggin. Go.
Yeah, X's and O's wise, I don't see anything this year anyway. I know we want to look back at the past 2 times Ohio State's came to Bloomington, and IU kind of hung around for a half and got the crowd into it, and then it ends up being, a pretty nice blowout for Ohio State. I kind of see that again. I don't see IU kind of hanging around the first half this year, though. I don't see how they hold up defensively because Adam's right. Ohio State is they're scary good. They really are. You thought there would be some sort of drop-off after Urban Meyer leaving. I don't think so. I actually think they look better now. And for the adjustments and for the reasons Adam talked about, changing the scheme, changing defensive schemes and mindsets, doing things differently on offense. With Ryan Day in, now Ohio State's running some schemes that other teams can't prepare for because they haven't seen it yet, and they have a ton of athletes. and that's what it all comes down to, is athletes on the field is actually going to dictate the game. IU does not have those 4- and 5-star athletes that Ohio State just runs in and out, with their depth chart. They can switch out their lines with more than 4- or 5-star athletes on the second string. IU can't compete with that. I don't see this being close at all today, even though the last couple of years, the past couple of games there in Bloomington, it's been, kind of exciting, I guess. It's not going to be that way today. Big win for Ohio State.
Big win for Ohio State. You know what? I love how everybody just discounts my Hoosiers. I'm going to be loyal. I'm an IU alumni. I'm an IU fan. I'm a super fan like Adam is with Ohio State. I'm going to be loyal, even though I know I got my blinders on here, and you guys, everything you're saying is probably correct. But you know what? I'm just going to pretend that IU is Illinois, and that Ohio State is Illinois, and it's going to happen. You just got to have faith, right? Adam, come on now. You're in your other life. I know that you're a pastor, so faith as small as a mustard seed. So that's all we got to have, right? Right, Adam? Just a little faith, right?
I would say it works like that in everyday life. Unfortunately, the football field does not always apply.
You go against the biblical
principle. We didn't see the meltdown happening with Ohio State against Purdue last year. Maybe it's in some strange college football universe that is parallel to ours that could happen today. But I don't see that happening. We didn't see us coming against Purdue last year. Maybe you can hang your hat on that Purdue game, Ohio State and Purdue, and some scenario happening where that happens today. I don't see that meltdown coming. I think Ohio State is pretty legit this year.
So, Adam, what you're saying is when you preach on faith, you say at the very beginning, everything I'm about to say about faith, throw out the window when it comes to Ohio State and Indiana. Is that what you're saying?
I would say you could you could if it's based off of if you're suiting up for the Hoosiers today, maybe it's a different story. But I think in pointing to last year with the Purdue game, even though a lot of people didn't see it coming, Ohio State was we showed cracks on our defense every game. Every game, even in week 1 and week 2, there were huge chunk plays that were being picked up with ease by opponents that don't have even the talent level of a guy like a Rondale Moore. That's not happening. I think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I am pretty sure we're in the top 5 in run defense, and just haven't given up hardly any chunk plays. I think we've only given up I believe it's 3 plays of 20 yards or more in 2 games. It's entirely different than last year. And that's where I think from a talent and from a coaching perspective, this staff is doing a significantly better job. I was actually talking to my dad this week, and a lot of us that are Ohio State fans here and in Columbus and all over the country really feel like when Greg Schiano did not get that Tennessee job, he just phoned it in last year. He collected a paycheck, and he knew he was leaving, and off he went. And then we saw what happened in the offseason when he signed up to be, defensive coordinator of the Patriots. And then 2 weeks later, reports come out that he's got some stuff going on in his personal life, and he quit. So, I just think that the staff that we have, we bring in Jeff Hafley from the NFL, bring Greg Madison and Al Washington back home from that team up north. It's been a huge difference just defensively. That was the thing, is I think nobody was concerned about how Ryan Day was going to do offensively. The dude's, I think that one of the next great offensive minds. But the question was, how are we going to do defensively? And that's where, when Ohio State is defensively sound coupled with that offense, I think you're staring playoff. And that's the way that everyone that dons the scarlet and gray is looking at it this year.
Well, we got a lot of games to get to, and we mentioned Purdue, so let's get this off our cuff here so we can get on to these other top 25 games. TCU, the Horned Frogs. I knew that one. I knew that one because that one sticks out to me. I know the Boilermakers. But the Horned Frogs visit West Lafayette tonight at 7:30. Purdue, I mean, they just got to win just to stay relevant in conversation, which they are not in the Big Ten at this point, Rick.
Yeah, it's like a repeat of last year. They started like 0-5 or 0-6 or something, and they got that big win against Ohio State and actually finished strong for the season. I don't know what the gig is because I figured Jeff Brom was, he was in line for the Louisville job. So it's a problem with him because Purdue should not be coming off to the getting off these starts like this. I mean, at one time, back in the Kyle Orton and Drew Brees days, Purdue was a pretty formidable team, and I don't know what's happened between now and then. But it all comes down to coaching. Maybe Brom isn't just the guy.
All right, guys, let's get into these top 25 games, and we'll start with today's game. Nothing more than a preseason game, if you will, by all intents and purposes, even though it's a regular season game. Arkansas State visits number 3, Georgia. Big game that a lot of people are watching with Georgia, but I don't think this is anything to talk about. Adam, what are your thoughts? Arkansas State visiting the Georgia Bulldogs.
It's typical SEC. They'll schedule one big game and then complete and utter cupcakes the rest of the way. Georgia rolls.
Rick, we know that's to be true, but any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, and they're going to use the same formula Notre Dame is going to use today against New Mexico. Get the starters in, just get them some practice reps, basically go up 3 or 4 scores, pull the starters out. Don't risk any injuries for the game next week between Georgia and Notre Dame.
Rick, you're a Notre Dame guy. You're a Notre Dame extraordinaire. No bones about that. But you know that Notre Dame has to beat Georgia. How's that happen?
It's got to be great defense. Great defense, really. I'm not so concerned about the offense in a way. We do need to get the downfield passing game going against Georgia. That way, Georgia will soften up the box on us, not overload the box. We need to get a running game going. But defensively, we have to stop Jake Fromm. We got to stop Swift. We got to contain one or the other. We can't let both run wild on us. So that is how they get it done in Athens next week. So I'll give you my prediction next week.
Adam, are you going to be able to stick around with us for another 30?
Yep, I'm good, Tom.
All right, well, let's just roll on into this, and we'll catch up on our breaks at the bottom of the hour. Hey, Adam, Pittsburgh and Penn State, in-state rivalry. Obviously, Penn State's in the top 25, ranked number 23, but Pitt always plays. It's like IU and Purdue. You just throw out the record book. It doesn't really matter. They always have a good game, and I don't expect today to be any different. Pitt at Penn State.
I expect. Like you said, I think it's going to be I think it'll be a tight game. I think Penn State's going to maybe pull away a little bit at the end for a clean double-digit victory. Penn State's a really solid roster. Their primary concern is that quarterback position, but they're deep, pretty well across the board. I don't know where to slot them in the Big Ten East this year, primarily just because they haven't played Big Ten competition yet. I'm not sure who's fitting in that 2, 3, 4 spot, especially the way that Maryland absolutely blitzed Syracuse last week. So, I mean, I don't know where they fit, but I think it's going to be a tight game, somewhere probably like a 24, I think low scoring probably too, like a 24, maybe not even double-digit win, 24-17, something like that.
No, I absolutely agree. Rick, I tell you what, he mentioned Maryland, and I tell you what, Maryland – and they're winning against Syracuse, and they're in the top 25 now. Are we having serious conversations about these Turtles?
Well, just right there when you were just bringing me in on this topic, they just scored another touchdown. So I think they I don't know. They're going to hit that Big Ten schedule, and then we're really going to find out about them. They beat Texas the past 2 years. Of course, they didn't play them this year. Even game day last week, the Texas LSU game, everybody had signs for Texas saying, we want Maryland, because for some reason Texas can't beat Maryland. So they might be legit. New head coach. We'll see when they hit that Big Ten schedule. And back to the Pitt and Penn State game, What sticks out to me is how the landscape of college football has changed over this past 10 years, because that Pitt-Penn State game used to be like the last game of the year for both schools. That used to be